Hey everyone, Carly Simons from Lead Geek Marketing back here for video 11 of the Secret Sauce of Facebook Ads series. Today we're talking about what creates real engagement and why engagement is important in your advertisements. So what does Facebook love more than anything in the world? The answer to that is real, genuine engagement, interaction between people on its platform. At a business level, engagement is involvement, interaction, intimacy with a brand over time. And even though social media is supposed to be social, most business pages have less than 1% engagement on their business pages in general. So we could be doing a bit better, you guys. And having a social media strategy that includes both organic posts and paid advertisements that encourage engagement between your brand and your audience is going to get you so far ahead in the long run. You're going to get more engagement, which means more information, which means you can create better advertisements. Better advertisements mean you save money, and in the long run, you make a lot more money as well. You know, the greater the frequency and the quality of the engagement between you and your audience, the better the relationship between the customer and business. And really, you want that positive relationship because that's what's going to drive your sales. Social interaction really has become a focal point for marketing, and that is why Facebook is kind of the golden opportunity for marketing and advertising right now. That social interaction is why TV and newspaper and the radio aren't successful options any longer, because you can't really interact as well as you can with your target audience. And so because the value is so apparent in creating content that drives engagement, I decided to circle back and go back to a principle that I talked about in video 8, I think. It was the STEPS, STEPPS, from Jonah Berger's book Contagious, Why Ideas Catch On. And I'm going to kind of dive a bit deeper and give you some more examples into each of these, letters, into this acronym, because it really kind of opens up and shows you how you can create meaningful engagements through paid advertisements. So first letter is S, STEPS. The first letter stands for social currency. So people tend to share what makes them look good. If you are able to showcase the most remarkable thing about your brand and make somebody feel either cool or exclusive, or laugh, or kind of maybe give them the fear of missing out or something like that, that's going to create an engagement. They're going to want to share that post just based on its social currency. Some good examples are the Starbucks reward card and the gold card. I had friends that were always flashing that around thinking it was a big deal, and that was great for Starbucks because it was great exposure and great PR for them, and it kind of gave the feeling of exclusivity. Another example is a company called Blend Tech would do a Will It Blend series. They would put all this random stuff like iPhones and markers and stuff in a blender and see if it would blend, and it always would. But that kind of created this core following of making people laugh, and it played to their emotions, which we'll talk about later. And people shared it because they thought it was fun. So S stands for social currency. T stands for triggers. You want to be able to trigger something in somebody's mind. If you're always the top of the mind and the tip of their tongue, that's where you want to be. You want them to associate your brand with something often, and hopefully something that they like. That's a big bonus. If I say the word peanut, you might think peanut, peanut butter, jelly, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's kind of a trigger, a natural kind of progression that you go along. Another Starbucks example of a trigger is fall. If I say Starbucks and fall, what drink do you think of? Pumpkin spice latte. It's not fall without girls and their Uggs and whatever else they do, and there's pumpkin spice lattes. Another good example is Caleb the Hump Day Camel. Hump Day, everybody knows those commercials. And if you say Hump Day, someone's probably going to talk about that camel. That's a great trigger, So T stands for triggers. E, we're at STE now. E stands for emotions. If you are able to create an emotional connection with your audience, if you're able to leave them in awe, if you're able to inspire them, to make them laugh, I talked about it earlier, but if you give them kind of that fear of missing out, that's gonna be something they engage with as well. So for example, Red Bull, they always, they give you wings, they make you believe you can achieve the impossible. Another example is Subaru. Love what matters. They always kind of they play to that emotion of, getting outside and being you and having that freedom and everything like that. So E stands for emotions. We're social currency, triggers, emotions. Now there's 2 P's coming up. First one is public. That's monkey see, monkey do. People do what they see. Best example of this is those Livestrong bracelets. Those were all over the freaking place all the time just because everybody was doing it and they were kind of cheap. Another example is Louboutins, the shoes. They've got their red bottoms. They're known for that. That's kind of another trigger. But Cardi B rapped about him in BoJack Yellow. So, it triggers that. It's also a popular thing because you see other people doing it as well. So second P, practical value. People share things of value. If it's valuable to them, they're going to share it because it might be valuable to somebody else in their life. A good example is like through a physical product is Dollar Shave Club. They always send those little grooming tips and all those cool little like comic strippy things in their packages. And TED Talks, they focus on providing value in an entertaining way. And you see TED Talks shared all over many social media platforms. So 2 P's were public and practical value. The last S to end off the steps is stories. Everybody loves a story, and if you can create an advertisement or if you can create a narrative or a story that people want to share and they take your brand along for the ride, that's the best exposure you can get. One of the easiest story I can think of that's associated with a brand was Jared the Subway guy. And I know that has gone far south from his reign as the Subway king, but it's a good example nonetheless. He had that inspirational weight loss story. People thought of it immediately when they went to Subway, and they went there for sandwiches because they were healthy and they helped you lose weight. So how can you get people to share and care about your content and not feel like they're being advertised to? They're actually being engaged with. You can make your audience look clever, play to their emotions, provide hope for what's possible. Wrap it all up in kind of like a story and an experience. And if you can have that be triggered by something that they already know and like, you're on the right path. You have to be innovative and creative, and you'll see really good results when you start to do things that not everybody else is doing. And when it comes to the end of the day, if your brand wants to be the life of the party, you kind of first have to have a social life, and that starts with engagement. So steps again: social currency, triggers, emotions, public, practical value, and stories. Follow those tips and you're going to see some amazing engagement and amazing results from your ads. We'll see ya.